The Indian geography is not equal. Some states are massive, where some states are very small. Some have huge populations, whereas some have very much less. But how all these factors influence the political representation in the parliament? To understand this, let's see how the Indian parliament works. See, the parliament has two houses. One is the Lok Sabha, where the representatives are directly elected by the people. The other one being the Rajya Sabha, where the representatives are indirectly elected and few are even nominated by the president. But the real power lies in the Lok Sabha because this is where the laws are made, the governments are formed, and the decision affecting about 1.4 billion people are made. And the number of seats a state gets in the Lok Sabha mainly depends on its population. And the calculation goes like this: the number of seats is equal to total population of the state divided by population per constituency of that state. Now, this allocation follows a simple yet crucial democratic idea, that is, one person, one vote, and one value. So, who decides how many people sit in the Lok Sabha from each state, and how does this system work? Delimitation Commission. Under the Article 82 of the Indian Constitution, after every population census, an independent body called the Delimitation Commission redraws the boundaries of all the constituencies for all the states and also decides how many seats a state gets in the Lok Sabha. The first Delimitation Commission was set up in 1952 after the 1951 census, followed by 1962 and then in 1972 with population as the main criteria. So more people means more MPs to that states. Sounds fair, right? Now what if this fairness creates a new kind of unfairness? In 1970s, India noticed something strange. Different states growing at very different speeds in terms of population. After the introduction of family planning programs by the Indian government in 1952, southern states like Kerala, Tamil Nadu have begun controlling the population growth, whereas northern states like UP, Bihar continue to grow rapidly. Now think what this means. If representation is based on population, the states that control the population would lose power, whereas the states that did not would gain more. So, in 1976, the then government took a bold decision to freeze the number of seats in Lok Sabha till 2001. Now, this freeze was supposed to end in 2001, but it was again extended all the way to 2026. The population census was carried out in 2001, and the Delimitation Commission has adjusted the boundaries of the constituencies with no change in the seats in Lok Sabha. But in 2011, though a population census was conducted, there was no delimitation exercise because the freeze continues till 2026. Which means for nearly 50 years, India chose stability over perfect representation. Even as the population grew dramatically, the political power stayed frozen. Now let's say this through an example. Tamil Nadu and Bihar in 1971 had almost similar population and roughly had the same number of MPs. But over 5 decades, the population of Bihar grew much faster than that of Tamil Nadu, and even now, the number of MPs remains same for both the states. Now, one MP in Bihar represents about 32 lakh people, whereas one MP in Tamil Nadu represents about 20 lakh people. Now, forward to 2023, India passed the historic Nari Shakti Vandan Adhiniyam, that is the Women's Reservation Bill, promising a 33% reservation to the women in the Lok Sabha, which was pending over a period of 27 years, lapsed 4 times in the parliament because nobody want to give away their seat to accommodate women. And now the clock is ticking. After 2026, the Lok Sabha seat freeze ends, the women's reservation needs to be implemented, and most importantly, India's population rose by 150% from 1971, which needs a quicker action. Now, all of this means a new census, a new delimitation, and complete reset of political power. But all of this could take 3 to 4 years. With the 2029 elections keeping in mind, the government has decided to consider the 2011 census as the base data for women's representation and a 50% increase of seats for all the states in Lok Sabha to avoid the injustice to the southern states. And the amendments in Article 82 allows this. Now, will this expansion increase or decrease the north-south divide? You see, the ratio of seat allocation before and now remains the same. But still, UP plus Bihar alone caters to 22% of the seats, which is almost equal to all the South Indian states together. With the new 81 seats expansion, the dominance may be more visible. But as of now, it only delays the divide. Even the other democratic countries have faced this dilemma too, like USA. The People's House is completely based on population, but the Senate, which is Rajya Sabha in Indian scenario, gives equal representation to all the states, be it big or small. And the government can consider development indicators like tax contribution, human development index, along with the population, which brings competition between the states to perform better. Or dividing the country into zones and allocating minimum number of guaranteed seats might remove the fear of unrepresentation and can benefit union territories and the northeastern states, ensuring the regional balance. And now, the real bigger problem we often ignore. According to the PRS legislative research, the productivity of the 17th Lok Sabha recorded around 47%, which is one of the lowest in the recent history. In 1950s, the parliament sat for more than 100 days a year, but today it is around 60 to 70 days a year, which is less than the Pakistan's parliament. And even during this time, a large portion of time is lost to disruptions and adjournments. So here is the uncomfortable question. If 543 MPs are not working efficiently, will increasing the number to 800 plus actually improve things? So instead of just increasing the number of seats, the parliament needs more sitting days, fewer disruptions, and a better debate structure. So before expanding the Lok Sabha seats, India needs to fix something more fundamental, that is, functioning of the parliament itself. What do you think? Population or performance? Quantity or the quality? Let us know your opinions in the comment section. And for more such simplified content, please like the video, share it to your friends, and subscribe to the channel Charita Simplifies.